All right, guys, we are on our next session, which is compliance and ethics plans. I know this one says program, but this is our plan. So I'm going to go ahead and share this with you now. And I hope everyone can see this just fine. I can see it just fine on my end. Okay, so let's talk about the standards, the policies, and the procedures. So at the end of this video, you should be able to articulate the components of our facilities compliance plan, the expectations regarding the facilities code of conduct, the facility system for reporting compliance violations, and examples of compliance violations. A compliance and ethics program is a program that is designed to present and detect violations of criminal, civil, and administrative laws and promote a quality of care. Compliance is the following rules. Ethics is doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. So I misspoke, actually. Their compliance is following the rules, not the following rules. So the components of our plan are written standards, policies, and procedures, obviously oversight, compliance training, monitor and auditing enforcement, response and remediation, and supplemental components. So as you guys are aware, we are a new organization, so I am going to be pretty much the most of those things. You'll see that on this next slide here. Facility is committed to compliance. Our policy procedures describe the actions and how we promote quality care. Everyone is responsible for allowing all policies or following all policies and procedures. Our policy procedures are located right there. We have a big binder for our policy and procedure manual, but they're also available for you to view on your Paychex platform. The content in our policy and procedures will be reinforced during the orientation, so what we're doing right now, and annual training and daily tasks. So if we see something that we have a near miss, something like that, we definitely want to have that dialogue with you guys. Specific policies to discuss. Resident rights. Check. We've already done that. Abuse prevention and reporting. Check. We have already done that. Kickbacks, inducements, and self-referrals. We have not talked about that. We have not talked about HIPAA, but we will have a category specifically for HIPAA. Our designated person who's responsible for compliance, yours truly. Designated contact person for the facility for suspecting violations or to ask questions about compliance. That'll be one more time. And just so everyone's aware, we do not have a compliance committee. We do review the things that come up on about compliance during our required committees, which happen quarterly, but it is not an official compliance committee according to Medicare regulations. Okay? But compliance training is required for all staff. This training counts as a required training in order to be employed with this facility and to remain employed with this facility. Additional trainings may be required to make sure you understand your responsibilities and how to do your job, promote safety and quality of care. Not everyone may receive the same training. Let's think about this. If you are an RN who's in charge during the night shift and you identify some things that are involved with patient care, you may be required to have a little bit more training on a certain subject than, for instance, EVS or the cook. So that's all par for the course. Auditing. So this is a fancy way of saying that, we have these forms and documents that Raymond and myself go through and we check to make sure that everyone's following the policy and procedures. If there's errors, if there's medication problems, we're tracking, training, and auditing that data. So to read the slide, this facility is required to take reasonable steps to achieve compliance with its program standards, policies, and procedures. Monitoring and auditing are two ways we ensure compliance. You see that we may be interviewing you guys. I'm so sorry. Been a long day. Medical and financial records are routinely audited for completeness and accuracy. So that is correct. All employees are expected to adhere to the facility's code of conduct and the facility's policy and procedures. Yes, this applies to everyone, underlined regardless of your position. Everyone knows that. Adherence to the program standards, policies, and procedures will be evaluated at least annually with your employee evaluation. So we do annual employee evals here for all of our full-time staff and part-time staff. Disciplinary action will be administered for noncompliance, including failure to report noncompliance, and disciplinary action may include termination. One of the purposes of a compliance and ethics program is to detect violations. Once detected, or there has been a complaint or notice of possible noncompliance, there will be an investigation. Everyone must comply with the investigation. It is against the law to retaliate against anyone for participating in an investigation, and you may be interviewed by someone in-house, a consultant, a legal representative, or a government agency. This happens a lot in these facilities where, I actually just was talking with someone recently about a facility that manufactures like homegrown artificial skin to go on patients that have wounds. And they knew they were doing things illegally, and they knew that they were about to get caught because they had like $150 million in gold in luggage while they were on the tarmac, while the FBI was stopping basically the plane from taking off and arresting them for Medicare fraud. So, if there is theft that's occurring at any level, right? But at the federal level, you may be asked to speak against the facility at some point. But just know that, if we're doing things the right way, we have nothing to worry about here. We don't have any concerns about this. So if a legal representative wants to talk to you, by all means, they have every right to when it comes to this. So moving on, corrective actions will be taken based on the results of the investigation. So anyone who's participating in is not going to be terminated for providing evidence or commentary. But if you're the person who's doing the things illegally, you may lose your job over illegal practices. We have a code of conduct. Code of conduct is already in Paychex. It's ready for you guys to view. You'll note that on the first page of your onboarding packet, there's a signature page that says you have received and have read and reviewed the code of conduct. So it's there. The code of conduct is the foundation of our compliance and ethics program. Its purpose is to establish the facility's culture and compliance, the culture of compliance, to summarize specific guidelines for employees to follow and to help employees understand what is required of them. Our expectations is that everyone's going to read, receive, and understand and agree and abide by our code of conduct, and that you will have an attestation required for employment. You're saying that you've done it. Non-compliance will result in discipline, commitment to quality care, and professional excellence. So again, we could refer to the facilities code, but again, the content consists of our mission, our vision, our purpose, and the guiding principles, and the guidance on how to identify and report compliance issues with assurance of non-retaliation. So let's talk about the who, what, where, when, and why of reporting. So what must be reported? Compliance, fraud, and illegal behavior. To whom should compliance issues be reported? To your immediate manager or supervisor, so that's going to be Raymond or myself, or to law enforcement if there's a suspicion of a crime. Talked about with that abuse, talked about that with resident rights. That's nothing new. How do you report compliance issues? In person. I know my door's closed right now, but it's closed for this meeting. I promise you it's an open door policy, okay? Electronically, so you have an option to either email me at elliot.north@goelhealth.org or raymond.castleberry@goelhealth.org. We have drop boxes located outside of our offices. You can put a paper in there, put it backwards with the information facing the wall so nobody can see it when they're walking by. What are the things that we need to do this report? We need to know what law, policy, or procedure that has been violated. We want to know when this took place and who was involved. We'd like to know your name and contact information in order to follow up. And though your information is voluntary, it's very helpful. And you will definitely not be retaliated against for good faith reporting. So when should compliance issues be reported? They should be reported immediately or as soon as they're identified. We've already talked about who's required to report. It's everybody. Okay. Failure to report will result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. Look, guys, we want to have, I believe they call it a just culture, which allows people to be able to come in at any time, free from persecution, and share with us things that they've seen or that have gone wrong. There is no favoritism here. There's an error. We want to fix it because it's not about us, it's about the patient. We want to make sure that the patient's getting the right experience. We've talked about the Elder Justice Act already when we talked about resident rights, but just as a reminder, everyone who's aware of a crime or activities that's suspicious of a crime are required to report. You have the right to know your obligations to report. You have the right to know the penalties for not reporting, which in general is subject to civil monetary penalty of not more than $200,000. If failure to report results in increasing harm or increased harm, subject to civil money penalty of not more than $300,000. Exclusion form participation in any federal health care program. So I made a little typo there that says from, not form. You have the right to lawfully report without fear of retaliation. So examples of compliance violations, we're going to talk about quality, residents' rights, billing, kickbacks, and HIPAA. So quality, we're required to provide the care and services necessary to attain and maintain the residents' highest practicable physical, mental, and psychosocial well-being. We are committed to providing those services. Examples of failure to promote quality of care include, but are not limited to, inadequate or untimely care plans, inappropriate use of psychotropic medications, inadequate monitoring of medications, or failure to administer medications. This is all residents' rights and abuse, guys. Failure to provide care and services to prevent or treat pressure injuries. Ooh, that's a big one. Inappropriate or insufficient treatment and services to address clinical conditions, including dehydration, malnutrition, incontinence, and mental or psychosocial disorders. I want to fall back on the pressure injury ones, just so you guys know you're part of a facility that took a proactive step. We spent the money in the beginning to make sure that our entire mattress fleet is a low air loss mattress to just try and combat these wounds because we know they're going to develop. We also have a robust turn schedule, documentation, all that stuff. So we have made the steps to be successful. It's up to you guys to follow the plan out. Inadequate staffing levels or insufficiently trained or supervised staff. So what's unique about the facility that you guys are in right now is that both the owners and operators here are, they come from a clinical background. And I know a lot of other facilities have physicians that own these facilities, which is nice, but it's not often that you have nurses and things like that. And so when you have individuals like myself and Raymond, I'm a respiratory therapist. I'm also the administrator here. Raymond is our DON and he's a registered nurse. So we know what it's like to be out there. We know what it's like to work short. We only have 18 beds in this facility. Okay, this isn't a ton of beds. We've worked, like I said, we know what you guys are going through. So we have done our best to adequately staff. And if there's some type of shortage, we have no problem coming in to help as much as we can. So just know that we have that with you guys, just a commitment. So failure to provide necessary assistance with ADLs. I mean, come on. We are required to promote and protect the residents' rights, including but not limited to the right to be free from abuse and neglect. Okay, we're kind of repeating a lot of the same information here. Freedom of choice, self-determination, reasonable accommodation of needs. Examples of some violations related to resident rights would be abuse, failure to report abuse, inappropriate use of physical or chemical restraints, denial of a resident's rights to participate in care, failure to safeguard financial affairs, failure to provide an ongoing activities program, discriminatory admission, or improper denial of access to care. Examples of Medicare billing fraud, which we are not a Medicare facility. I bring these up because they set the gold standard. So there are things in here that matter, okay? So improper reporting of residents' case mix on the MDS doesn't matter for what we do here. Therapy or other services with no or insufficient documentation, that's a problem. We bring these slides up because they do pertain to the industry. It is important if therapies are in here because they're contracted services, PT, ST, OT, RT. Well, not RT, but those contracted services need to document for their time. The patients deserve to have a record of services rendered to them. Okay. Providing and billing for equipment, medical supplies, or services that are not reasonable and necessary. You have a patient that's walking around, we're not going to put them on invasive ventilation. Why would we do that? Why would we have that at the bedside for them? It doesn't apply. Okay. Billing for services that are never provided. That's fraud. Submitting claims, which we're not going to submit anything to Medicare. Duplicate billing, we don't do that. Altering documentation or falsifying records, that's criminal. Don't do that. This facility complies with the anti-kickback statute and other financial related laws. This is true. Statute prohibits individuals and entities from offering, paying, soliciting, or receiving bribes or other payment in order to induce businesses. Examples of violations of the anti-kickback statute and other relevant laws include providing free dinners or lunches or free gifts, such as tickets to sporting events or electronic to referral sources. Routinely waiving co-insurance or deductible amounts without any good faith determination that the resident is in financial need. Agreements between the facility and hospital, home health agency, or hospice that involve the referral or transfer of any resident to or by the nursing home. Arrangements with vendors that result in the nursing facility receiving non-covered supplies at below market prices or no charge, provided the facility orders Medicare covered products from them. So again, I know I said I should just have deleted it out of the slide, but there's a lot of this content, guys, that does apply to us. And so I want to make sure that it's in there. So this facility is required to safeguard personally identifiable health information. This includes the protection from inappropriate disclosure verbally or in writing, both on paper and electronically. Okay, you guys, we do paper charting here in this first phase. Our plan is to go to an EHR, but for right now, it's paper charting. So if you have handwritten documentation that's not going in the patient chart, it must go in the shred box. We have shred box right at the nurse's station, so it'll be very easy just to slide it in there, and that is one way that we protect HIPAA. The other thing is that keep the sidebar conversation about, well, you shouldn't even be talking about the patients in general, outside of things that directly pertain to their care. So don't go to the break room and start chatting about how, Billy has this wound that's this big around and it has an odor, because you like they always say in all the videos that we've all watched throughout all our time, is that you never know if that family member is walking by or someone's a friend of another someone, and it's just not right to share their health information. So we're not going to go through medical information. We're not going to discuss medical information regarding residents in public or common areas. We're not going to email or text health information without appropriate applications to secure the information. So we use Humble Fax to receive, and we use Tiger Text to send messages to the physician. We have a dedicated phone line that only communicates with the physician on site. Okay, so that's what we use in one effort to provide HIPAA compliance. So a violation would be providing copies of medical records to family members without proper written authorization. So I know it seems like, oh, this is this person's husband. What's the big deal? Are they just asking for a copy? We have to keep a track record of these things, because you never know if that's someone's ex-husband and they need this for XYZ that's incriminating to this person. It's not right. We follow the plan, and that is to paper trail. Have a paper trail. If that person wants something, they have to talk to administration or myself. I'll make sure to get a copy for it, but I'll have a signed document that shows that they requested it this time. This is what they received. So that way the patient also knows. Okay. Discussing medical information with friends and family members without proper written authorization. We just talked about that. If you guys have any questions, just write a little piece of paper, Q&A, compliance and ethics plan. And we can address that when you come in for your remaining training. I hope this has been helpful to you guys, and I'm going to go ahead and get us started on the next one right about now.